Hey gang, welcome back. Gonna take a quick look at some of the character growth that's happened in the intervening years since the Lost Talisman. Source's gained some vitality, Penny's gained strength, Fenwick continues to train int, and Shaggy has a lot of karma. But he's still lagging behind a little bit in level. Today we're gonna solve the riddle of Lucifer's Floodgate. It's not a particularly involved adventure. It'll be a little shorter than the first two episodes. And you're going to notice it looks a lot like the Stolen Scepter. The palette and the flow, though, are different enough that it's got its own feel. We'll be needing this white powder, although it's not clear for what yet. The little toy soldier-looking dudes running around here are Grimlocks. Well, they remind me of the little soldiers from Dr. Leo's model in Soul Blazer, anyway. Here's the first of many messages hidden inside a torch. Torches are kind of like one of the two motifs in this adventure. Apparently some predecessor of ours met a grisly fate here, but before he died he left behind these notes. I had to address what we're doing here before we get too far in. So it seems Pentawa gets 100% of its water from one river called Blood River, and someone or something has dammed it at the source, so we need to go in and save Pentawa from dehydration. I believe what this switch does is unlock some rods we need to use to solve a puzzle, although as you'll see it's not going to be that simple. These cheerful fellas at the top of the waterfall are golems, although in Japanese they're called mudmen. You can probably hit them and kill them with certain kinds of magic, but I don't know for sure. And the creatures guarding these rods are lizard men. The torches in here contain some more helpful notes, but these rods are probably one of the dumbest puzzles I've ever seen, so we'll be ignoring it for now and coming back a little later. I should note that I think I finally solved the sprinting conundrum that's been plaguing me since episode 1. The reason we've been able to sprint more and more is because Shaggy's vitality has been going up. And the reason it's been going up is his occupation. I haven't talked about occupations at all, but all your characters can have a job, and by default it's just farmer. But anytime you pass a year without being in an adventure or being in training, you'll just do your job and earn some XP and money as well as stats. These enemies in here are wolves. And I'll get back to job talk in a minute, but for now I'm going to show off the unbridled power of the fog robe. The spell on this item is called Fog Bank, and it doesn't seem to do anything. According to the manual, it makes you invisible to earth and fire monsters. So maybe I just haven't used it on the right kind of monster yet, but I haven't really seen an effect from hitting anything with these walls of fog. Anyway, some way or another, I didn't really think he had any time to do it, but Shaggy's been getting in some farming and raising his vitality. Different jobs will give you different pluses and minuses to stats, but you only ever have a net gain of +1 overall. We seem to have entered a rather foreboding underground lake. We're about to get into the second recurring motif of Lucifer's Floodgate, and that's swords. These are the Krakens who attack by throwing swords they've taken from deceased adventurers, and after you hit them once they turn red and move a little bit faster. Luckily they gave me a pretty good fight here. Sometimes they can refuse to cooperate and stay underwater. But I am going to go in and get this other guy. When I was doing my test run of this level, I did a double take when I saw that much experience. It's really not a hard fight by any means. We've seen a couple doors so far that have sword symbols next to them, so maybe this Gabriel's sword is part of that. There are a couple really cool versions of the theme from this stage. I think, anyway. I want to give a shout out to Carpe Fulgur. They've been following the thread. If you're into this kind of retro Japanesey junk, you oughta check out the games they've translated. I especially recommend Reset Tier. They're all available on Steam. At this point, we're going to give these rods another go. Near as I can tell, the way you do this stupid puzzle is to just keep messing with the rods and leaving the room and coming back in. Until such point that the game decides you're ready to progress. It's just kind of arbitrary and bad, really. So you get to just watch me struggle with it for a while. At least we got this chill music. Now when this pops up, that's the indicator that you can actually finish. And I think what triggers this popping up is you actually leaving the room for the third or fourth time. It's basically the dumbest thing in the world, but what this is all for is shutting off the waterfalls. It also has the side effect of clearing the golems out from up there. But if you remember, the other set of waterfalls gave us a pop-up that said there was a cave behind them. So let's go check that out. There's a cave alright, and 4 waterfalls means 4 caves. Since I already know what's up, I'm gonna go in the third one first. All 4 caves have torches like this in them, and this is where we have to use the white powder. But only one of the torches has the Raphael sword in it, and if you put out the wrong one, you're gonna have to go back to the start to get more powder. That's not to say it's the only cave with anything of value. But if you do come in here with powder, it's kind of easy to hit the torch accidentally and waste it. I think I should probably adjust the party formation I use, since Penny's getting kind of built as more of the fighter. I feel like I ought to put her in the back and switch her to the front for boss fights, so that that way Penny could definitely be hitting the boss, but Sorcia would be second in line. Because, you know, as difficult as these bosses have been, I need to min-max that sort of thing. These crusts on the wall are basically locks that use swords. If you look at them before you have the corresponding sword, then it just says something like, there is a silver sword on the wall. There's another suspicious torch in this room. But we are out of swords at this point, so we can't open this door. We might as well go back and see what that switch did. We might as well grab the swords again on our way out, and that switch revealed this door in the hallway here. These blocks that are aligned with the pillars you can move up and down kind of like elevators. And to get the sword to appear, you have to line up the elevator blocks with the flashing orbs. It is actually kind of like a real puzzle, which is cool to have for a change. There are a couple doors I don't think we've been in at all, so now that we have 3 swords, or keys as it were, we ought to go check those out. While we're in the area though, we better get some more white powder. You never know when we're gonna need to put out more fire. Near as I can tell, the reason that Sierra had to redo the music for Sorcerian was that the standard for American sound cards like the Adlib and Sound Blaster was the Yamaha OPL chips, while Japanese PCs used OPN series chips. I don't fully understand why there is such a difference in the sound, because they are all Yamaha FM synths. But in general it seems like Western PC MIDI music had a more soft sound, while Japanese FM music is kind of crisper, I guess. These mummy-looking monsters are trolls. And in spite of everything we've learned from Dungeons & Dragons and even the Sorcerian manual, where it says that fire is the only way to kill them, the flame spell doesn't seem to do anything to them. Well, Lucifer's Floodgate is throwing us another BS curveball here. So we gotta go leg it back to the white powder. I showed off the fog robe, but you may be wondering about that diamond staff we got from the last quest. Well, to tell you the truth, I screwed it up. The staff had the spell Gas Cloud on it, but it's a locked spell. And the two ways to unlock a spell are to take it to the town elder and pay kind of an exorbitant amount of money, or to go to the magician and put a new enchantment on it that doesn't change the arrangement of the gods. So without looking up the relation chart or anything, I assumed that since Gas Cloud is made up of Mercury and Sun, I should just be able to throw another Mercury enchantment on there, and it would unlock the spell, right? Well, it turns out if you put a new Mercury enchantment on something that already has a Sun enchantment, it'll also add Venus. So with Mercury, Sun, Venus, I now have the Exit spell, which will just instantly teleport you out of the quest. But, you know, since then I spent some time trying to get a handle on it, and in the next episode we're going to have some new offensive spells. And no, you can't get in these floating doors. Finally, we've defeated this mighty flame and completed our triumvirate of Archangel swords. I guess in spite of basically worshipping Roman gods, they also have Christianity in Pentower. I realize especially with a lot of the dumb crap in this adventure that I probably don't sound too enthusiastic, but I'm actually super hyped to get further and further into the game, because it's been a long time. Well, Shaggy smelled an herb on the other side of this door and got ahead of himself a little bit. These plump little dwarfy guys are hobgoblins. This puzzle room is a little more involved than the other one. Most of the elevators have to move down, but one of them has to be head-butted up Mario style. And then only from a specific place. The crystal sword is the last one we need, so now Sword Extravaganza can commence. Had a little trouble getting out of here. At this point our objective is to get back to that locked sword door that we couldn't pass earlier in the adventure. A little bit about the music. While I believe Yuzo Koshiro did most of the music for the game, at least that we've heard so far, I don't think he was really involved with Falcom much after Sorcerian, so I don't think he was personally involved with any of these arranged versions that we've been hearing. If you're not familiar with Yuzo, I'm sorry, I guess. He's probably my favorite game composer, and by all accounts a pretty cool guy. ActRaiser is probably my favorite game of all time, and the soundtrack is a big part of that. Anyway, I digress. We're finally where we need to be. Here it is, Lucifer's Floodgate itself. I think it's a pretty cool looking device, and naturally we have to unlock it with more swords. With that, we've fulfilled the win condition, so now it's time to clean up and get any bonus treasure. For now we've got to leave the swords behind so we can make this difficult jump. This seems to be a tile-perfect jump, and I don't know how anyone would ever find this. Oh god. Our well-deserved reward is the ice robe, which I'm sure is about as good as the fog robe, but we'll try it anyway. If the swords aren't in the floodgate, then the robe doesn't appear, but we can go back and grab them now. That being said, let's work our way back out and grab all the swords. There are actually 2 bonus treasures in this adventure, though. The other one is in the underground lake. Here's the PC98 OPN version of this stage's theme. To record these PC98 versions, I'm using a sound emulator called Hoot, which emulates a bunch of different sound hardware like the MSX chip and PC88, PC98, X68000. It can be kind of challenging to figure out Hoot's interface, but if you're into this kind of retro sound at all, you gotta check it out. Everything you should need, including about 1 million sound files, is on hootarchive.org. Space Drake mentioned in the thread just how much this engine looks like the engine for Ys 3, which at the time was a big departure because the first 2 Ys games were top-down. But I wouldn't be surprised if Falcom switched to side-scrolling for that one because of the success of Sorcerian. Obviously, I don't think this is something we could ever really know. But all the way back here in the corner of the lake is the armor plate. And now it's finally time to let Shaggy's diamond staff shine. Let's get out of here. We're gonna divide the ice robe to Shaggy, that's why I put him in 3rd rather than 4th this time around. And Sorcia's gonna get the armor plate. It provides something like 12 physical protection, so she'll at least be able to focus on training magic resist. The 3 Archangel swords don't have any spells on them, and their primary attribute is Mars, which corresponds to strength. Penny's gonna get Gabriel's sword because it has the most Mars. The silver and crystal swords have Cure and Heal, respectively. I'm gonna go ahead and give the crystal sword to Sorcia, because I don't think poison is really gonna be an issue in this scenario. Now I'm gonna show off kind of a weird idiosyncrasy or bug. I have to assume it's a bug, honestly, but I remember discovering this when I was younger. If you're in the Traveler's Inn and you sell an item that a character has, as opposed to something that's on the left and hasn't been divided yet, it'll sell for usually more than 10 times what it's worth anywhere else. This includes the basic starting equipment as well, so I'm just going to sell off everything that is not fancy at this point, so people get a nice nest egg. I could divide the last 3 swords before I sell them, but they would only go to Penny and Sorcia, and honestly, they have enough money, so we'll just divide it. It'll be a few years in the game before you see our heroes again. Sorcia's gotta train some int to even be able to cast her new heal spell, and we've got plenty of other training to do. So hopefully the King of Pentawa gets a damn life alert or something. I'll see you next time.